Antibiotics are prescribed for pretty much everything these days, and it's not just in pill form. It's sprayed on our food. Those pesticides act as an antibiotic. Birth control acts as an antibiotic. The chlorine in your water acts as an antibiotic. Um, in this video, I'm telling you why you should avoid antibiotics at all costs, especially, the kind that you're taking as a pill, the prescription ones. And I know some of you are going, oh, antibiotics save lives. Okay, sure, maybe. In extreme situations, they save lives. Sure, maybe. But in our day-to-day, like, oh, I have an ear infection, or I have a clogged milk duct, or mastitis, or, some sort of sinus problem, we do not need to be taking antibiotics for everything. Oh, I have a skin issue, I need antibiotics. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should avoid antibiotics at all costs. And then I'm going to tell you what you should do instead at the end. So let's get into it. The first reason you should avoid antibiotics at all costs is that it doesn't just go in and destroy your pathogenic bacteria. So let's say you have some sort of bacterial infection, it's in your system, it's right here, it's right there, it's causing problems. Ideally, we'd love an antibiotic to just come in and clean those up, but what it does instead is it actually kills all of our beneficial bacteria. So it comes in, it goes, wipes that out, wipes that out, wipes that out. Here we go. Let's just let's get rid of that good bacteria. And why is this problematic? Because those bacteria do everything in your body. They are like your little servants. Those beneficial bacteria, they create your hormones, your neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, GABA. These are anti-anxiety, calming, happy, feel-good, energetic neurotransmitters from our brain. They are made primarily in our gut. Serotonin specifically is almost 100% made by these little bacteria in your gut. So we do not want to be destroying them. Oh, I have a little, sinus infection. Okay, take this antibiotic for a week, destroy your gut, and then you're left with anxiety and irritable bowel syndrome, and you can't digest all these foods and yada, yada, yada. I see it all the time, so I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm actually trying to save you from this because I work with chronically ill clients all of the time. Lyme disease, colitis, Crohn's disease, severe histamine intolerance where they can't eat really anything. They're down to like 3 foods. These are the clients I meet with every week. Almost all the time, we can trace it back to a round of antibiotics or the birth control pill, which acts as an antibiotic. Okay, so is that really worth it to you? Like destroying all these bacteria that do everything. They also create your vitamins. They create your B vitamins, which most people are deficient in. They create your vitamin K2, which most people are deficient in. They, like I said, neurotransmitters, hormones. They create enzymes that break down your food. They do everything in your body. They are essential for every part of your body's function. So to me, it's just not worth it to get rid of those beneficial bacteria to maybe overcome a sickness a little bit quicker. The second reason that you should avoid antibiotic use at all costs is actually because it creates an environment where yeasts overgrow, okay? So when we destroy all these little pockets of beneficial bacteria and we just kill all these little guys from a round of antibiotics, it actually sets up the perfect environment for yeast to take over because antibiotics kill bacteria. They do not kill yeasts. And one of the yeasts that we have in our body, it's an opportunist, it's called Candida. You may have heard of it. A lot of people suffer from Candida overgrowth. Some of the symptoms would be like toenail fungus, dandruff, severe sugar cravings, thrush, vaginal yeast infections, any type of bodily yeast infection can be attributed to Candida overgrowth. So this is a normal part of our body. We'll call it, it's right here, it's Candida. And it kind of like comes in, does some things, eats up some metals. It can have good, it does good things in our body. But when we create those little pockets, these are opportunists. They're looking for an opportunity to settle in and to multiply and to grow like any organism, right? We just want to like reproduce, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so they go in, they see that opportunity. Now they set up camp and they create these little biofilms. So where that bacteria used to be, and that bacteria used to be taking in the nutrition that you eat and exchanging it for healthy hormones and healthy neurotransmitters and your B vitamins and your short chain fatty acids. Now we have these Candida yeasts that are coming in there. They're seeing some opportunities and they're setting up camp. And they create these little communities called biofilms. It's kind of like a little tent. They're protected and they multiply. They start growing. They change forms. They can grow like tentacles. And, they can actually, when they get enough power, they start stealing your nutrition. Great, so that healthy salad, that organic salad and chicken with your good organic olive oil, now these Candida are eating it because they eat protein as well as sugar and everything. And they start off-gassing alcohol and histamine, and they can grow little tentacles. They can puncture into your gut lining and steal nutrition from your bloodstream. Oh, and by the way, they can float on over to your brain and your liver and steal the glucose from those areas, causing brain fog and lots of other health issues. So yes, yeast overgrowth, a classic terrible exchange for getting over your sickness a little bit quicker with antibiotics. You do not want that candida overgrowth. It really does cause a ton of problems, and so please avoid that by avoiding antibiotics. The third reason to avoid antibiotics is that it also causes diarrhea. It's super common. Just like how I mentioned, it creates an environment where candida can thrive, it also creates an environment where clostridia can thrive. This is another opportunist that now it's getting to thrive. This is clostridia. It doesn't look like this, but for the sake of the argument, there's my little drawing. So when clostridia overgrows, we get Clostridia difficile infection, which causes acute diarrhea. It costs the healthcare system $3.2 billion annually. It is so common. It's like rivals staph infection as a hospital-transmitted disease. It's most common. And it's widely known that it happens after antibiotics. The hospitals acknowledge it. The healthcare system, I actually went on the Healthcare Australia page, and it acknowledges that it's from antibiotic use. And it is so common. So it causes diarrhea, okay? Real quick, if you get acute diarrhea from taking an antibiotic, a quick fix that works a lot of the time is homemade 24-hour cultured yogurt. So I'll link a video for that. The fourth reason you should avoid antibiotics at all costs is that it actually weakens your immune system long term and makes you more prone to sickness later on. This is my professional experience. I see it all the time. I've read the scientific literature. I know how the microbiome works. We kill off these bacteria that work with our immune cells to protect our body, and it leaves you more and more prone to infections later on. I'll just share a quick story. I had my daughter about a year ago. We did a home birth. It was beautiful. Anyway, I ended up having to go into the hospital a few days later for a little stitch. Talked to him about the medication. It was like, yep, I'm breastfeeding a newborn. I don't want that. I don't want that. Just making sure, okay, you're just giving me this. I find out later they gave me 2 rounds of antibiotics in an IV without telling me, after I clearly went, okay, we're not going to get into that. Anyway, I was frustrated. And do you know what happens after that? 2 days after that, I get a urinary tract infection. I have not had a urinary tract infection in 12 years, nor have I had antibiotics at that point, and I've really worked on my gut health with fermented foods, good bacteria, meat stock, doing the GAPS protocol. So there's no way it's a coincidence that right after I had the antibiotics, I got a urinary tract infection, the first one in 12 years. And then, I go to the chemist just to pick up some like Demonos cranberry pill. And she's like, oh yeah, you got to treat it with an antibiotic. And I'm like, absolutely not. Antibiotics got me into this mess. They destroyed my immune system so that I was prone to this infection. So what did I do? We'll get to that in a sec. So the fifth reason to avoid antibiotics at all costs is that in my experience, probiotics work a lot better. Let's go back to my UTI story. Okay, so had a urinary tract infection. I was breastfeeding a newborn. If you've had a baby, you're just not fully there, okay? So I wasn't like on it making kefir and fermented foods and really knowing what to do. I just started taking the cranberry pill, drinking water, and was like, hope this goes away. I wasn't super active. I kind of thought maybe it would go away. It didn't. It hung around for about 3 weeks. I was taking a cranberry pill every day. And then I finally went, you know what? Stuff this. I need to get rid of this. So I made some milk kefir, which has the most probiotics, variety, and quantity of any fermented food. Took 1 sip. I kid you not, the infection was gone that day. Maybe 12 hours later, I did not take 1 more pill. I had no pain. It completely went away. So why does that work? Well, probiotics are basically repopulating your gut with the good guys. So rather than taking a round of antibiotics and just destroying everything, you can actually take probiotics, and this is a healthy habit to be in all the time, not just when you're sick. And when you have healthy bacteria going in there, they secrete natural antibiotic substances. And those actually can kill pathogenic bacteria. It's one of their roles. So this has been my experience, and I've used it on a lot of clients. When I say used it, I've suggested it to a lot of clients and had amazing results. Like many clients and friends, their son has like thrush, or they have it when breastfeeding or something. And I'm like, dude, some milk kefir, rub it on there, take it internally. And like every situation, it clears up. Now, you do have to be super careful with this because if you're not used to taking probiotics, even just a little bit can be a huge shock to your system. If you have a ton of bad bacteria growing in here, it can be like setting off a nuclear bomb. Now, it's a good nuclear bomb, compared to those antibiotics, but it still can cause a lot of painful side effects. So always start super small. But yeah, if you can avoid antibiotics, absolutely do it. Do everything you can to avoid them. It is not worth the long-term damage and the long-term consequences that you could easily remedy with having probiotics in your diet as a regular staple.